The merger between Takatso Aviation Consortium and South African Airways is under the spotlight at the Competition Tribunal. Last month, the Competition Commission recommended the tribunal approved a 51% disposal of SAA shares to Takatso, provided that certain conditions are met. Now, one of the conditions was for the minority partners in the consortium to be removed to avoid decreasing competition in the domestic passenger market. eNCA's Moloko Moloto has been following the matter and joins us now from the hearing. Moloko, this merger has been long awaited, with several attempts along the years to resuscitate SAA. Just quickly remind us of how we got here.
Hello, Melissa. Well, we got here because the South African Airways, the national carrier, got into trouble and the government was no longer willing to bail it out with the taxpayers' money. And as a result, there was a process that was spearheaded by the Department of Public Enterprises to identify a partner, an equity partner that will assist to keep SAA afloat, or should I say up in the air. And following that process, and it emerged here in this hearing today that there was no solicited bid. In other words, there was no tender. Otherwise, people just provided their expressions and suggestions on how they are going to assist South African Airways, and ultimately the Department of Public Enterprises identified a consortium called Takatso, which consists of Herith, which is owning 80% of that particular consortium, and the other 20% is shared between a Global Aviation and another company called Cyranix Aviation. Now, the problem is that these two minority shareholders, Global Aviation and Cyranix, are actually operating a competitor of the South African Airways, which is Lift Airline. And the Competition Commission, which is the body that or is empowered to investigate competition issues, recommended in May that the merger between Takatso Consortium, which is seeking to get 51%, can only proceed only on the basis that Global Aviation as well as Cyranix resign from the Takatso Consortium. That is the first condition, but the other condition was that there must be no retrenchments of SAA staff, at least for the first 5 months, first 5 years, as a result of the merger. Now, today what is happening is that the matter has now been elevated from the Competition Commission, which, by the way, can only investigate and advise the Competition Tribunal. Today we are at the Competition Tribunal, which has the final say on making a decision regarding the mergers. This is where the hearing is taking place. And some of the members of this particular tribunal, the three of them, it is chaired by Ms. Mondoma Zwai, and other panelists are Dr. Tando Vilagazi, as well as Advocate Tembega Ngaitobi.
So, Moloto, with this condition that anyone aligned to another airline needs to leave or exit the merger, that was the biggest talking point today.
Oh, absolutely, Melissa, because here the question is on the issues of the competition, in that the directors of both Cynatrax as well as Global Aviation, if they remain in the Takatso Consortium, even with their minority shareholding, they will have access to confidential and sensitive information involving the South African Airways. And because they are operating a competitor of South African Airways, which is Lift Airline, the Competition Commission believes that that would be anti-competition on its own. However, we have heard from the lawyers, from the Takatso lawyer, Mr. Mike van der Nest, from the Takatso Consortium, saying that those two were really not going to be involved in the operation of the newly reconfigured airline. He's saying that they would simply assist to get the new airline off the ground, and SAA will continue to operate. But the Competition Commission says no, that should not happen. And of course, the final decision will be made by the Competition Tribunal. Earlier, we heard the gentleman, Mr. Weri Gumbi, from the Competition Commission, who insisted that those two must vacate the consortium if the deal is to go through. Let's listen to Mr. Gumbi.
It's not required for us to show that the merging parties themselves have been directly involved. It's the market structure, because the guidelines talk about you have to assess the structure of the market, and where you find that that market is characterized by high concentration, you must be very concerned. And in fact, not only have we established that there is high concentration, because whilst Lift may be a small player for now, it's a small player in a market where there's few fish. So it's a small pond with 5 big fish, if you like. Their market shares are less important than the structure. The structure is concentrated. The likelihood of there being an exchange of information because of directorships is present. And of course, you've mentioned that Mr. Novik has not been, or he's resigned as a director. Chair, for us, I think we certainly understood that was reported in the media, but we've not seen any evidence that suggests that he cannot utilize his right to remain a director of Takatso. The MOI of Takatso actually provides that he's entitled to a board seat.
Thank you, Moloko, for that update. Back to you, Masego.